If it's Tuesday, that means the Apex Energy Cup Series racing from the Slingshot Racing League. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ellis Thomas tonight, joined in the booth by Chris Smith. We are bringing you live racing action in the Gen 4 Cup cars from the Milwaukee Mile tonight for the UD Awards 200. The historic Milwaukee Mile, located at Wisconsin State Fair Park in West Allis, Wisconsin, has been an iconic part of Milwaukee's treasured past since 1876. The mile has hosted thousands of nail-biting races, it's awarded thousands of winning trophies, and welcomed loyal fans from across the country and the world for nearly 150 years. The Milwaukee Mile opened as a private horse racing track that was purchased by the Agricultural Society of the state of Wisconsin to create a permanent site for the Wisconsin State Fair. The track hosted its first dirt track car race on September 11, 1903, making the Milwaukee Mile the oldest operating motor speedway in the world. In 1954, the track was paved for the first time and the era of dirt racing was over, but a new era of even higher horsepower showdown began. Chris, Milwaukee Mile has hosted horse races, Green Bay Packer football games, and all sorts of other events. But tonight is all about these high horsepower Gen 4 Cup cars. Tell us a little bit about how drivers are going to experience this intense, bumpy 1 mile track.
Well, you said it, Ellis. It's a really, really old track. It's one of the oldest tracks in the world. It says on here that there are 8 degrees of banking in the corners, but anybody who's been on this track in iRacing knows that it feels a lot flatter than that. The track is very, very wide for just a mile in length and for as slow as the speeds are in the corners. But there is one racing line here. It's hard to run side by side, so people are going to be hunting for the bottom of the track. And with this extra horsepower that these new Gen 4 Cup cars have, center of the corner off from roll speed to, just feathering the throttle to corner exit is going to be very, very difficult. One of the talking points that we're going to have all night, something that you will see all night, is you will see drivers loose from about on throttle time, center of the corner to the corner exit. So this is going to be a difficult challenge for these Cup drivers, but if you've been watching the Apex Energy Cup Series, you know how good these drivers are.
Absolutely, and we're looking at that pre-race analysis for tonight. You can see 200 laps around the Milwaukee Mile, fuel window around 60 to 70 laps. One thing that's different tonight, Chris, is we've got 4 sets of tires available to drivers versus the normal 3, and that just speaks to how much tire degradation we're expecting to see tonight. We felt like these drivers, over the course of 200 laps, we threw them an extra bone tonight, gave them a little bit of extra fuel. So it's going to be an intense, exciting 200 laps, but before we get there, we got a couple things left to do, including playing the national anthem as drivers are in qualifying right now. Then we'll come back on the other end and talk about some of the stories that we're going to be following throughout the race. All right, you are looking live at the Milwaukee Speedway. The Milwaukee Mile, Slingshot Racing Apex Energy Cup Series coming at you for 200 laps in these Gen 4 Cup cars. Before we get qualifying over with in about a minute, we're going to take a quick look at the point standings, catch you up on just what's going on with 6 races left this season, including tonight. Aaron Smith is atop the point lead, but Chris, this is a big story that's developing right now. Aaron Smith is connected to the race, but he has not been on track. We are thinking that he's having some computer issues tonight, and this is going to be a big opportunity for a lot of these guys. If Aaron is not able to get connected and get in the race tonight, we're looking at a major point shakeup. With Randy Bechtel just 36 points behind in second, and Scott Sobczak not too far off that with 46 points behind Aaron Smith. These guys can really put a dent in Aaron Smith's lead tonight. And Tony Hilbrun's is another guy we're going to be keeping an eye on, sitting in 5th place in the points. He says Milwaukee Mile, according to what you told me with some inside information, is his best track. That's Tony Hilbrun's. And you can kind of see the rest of the top 10. It's a really close points race we've got going on. Chase Berry is one of our biggest movers, and Rye Jones in 4th place as well. Those payday guys have been getting after it the past couple of races. So we'll look to see if they're able to maybe claw their way into the top 5 with some good runs tonight. Before qualifying is wrapped up, with about a minute left, we are going to look at some quick stories as these drivers get ready to take the grid. Some things that we want to follow tonight as we're going. First things first, Chris, this is a crown jewel race. We've been lucky to have 5 of these this season. That means $25 is on the line for the winner. So we're going to see how much added incentive that adds to these guys, and if that changes the aggression level, especially as the laps wind down tonight. Tires, we've talked about them already. They're going to degrade very, very quickly. We gave drivers 4 sets, but they're going to really have to manage those tires because tonight, high horsepower and low grip. Talk to us about what you've been seeing in practice with those guys tonight, just how loose they've been.
Well, with the old ARCA car, the way this car used to work with the lower horsepower is you could be a little bit more aggressive with the throttle. Right here in Milwaukee and at some of these other flatter tracks, roll speed, getting back into the throttle and getting good forward bite on corner exit is very, very important. And so what I noticed, watching these guys earlier is that they've got their hands full on corner exit. They are struggling to get the power down, to keep the power down, and to make sure that they do not lose a lot of speed on corner exit. So it's going to be a difficult race to try to keep those rear tires underneath you and try not to burn up that right rear as the tire run goes on.
Absolutely, and when those tires are ready to be changed, those drivers are going to be crying, but they got to come to pit road first. And Chris, the pit road at Milwaukee is unlike any other. The entrance is right essentially at the beginning of the front stretch, and it is a very narrow entrance. There's no runoff. There's no kind of exit lane that goes into it. You just got to essentially make a left-hander, and drivers are going to have to be really careful. We'll watch out for that on green flag pit stops tonight. But before we get to that point, we do need to talk about the starting lineup, Chris. Scott Sobczak claiming what feels like his 6th pole of the season. He is a rocket man on the racetrack, especially during qualifying. He starts first. Rye Jones starting to his outside. Inside of the second row is going to be Randy Bechtel, looking to see if he can get a win after having some really strong runs the past several weeks. And the guy who says tonight is his best chance to get a win, Tony Hilbrun's 4th, Patrick Colby 5th, Justin Gann 6th, looking to have a good run tonight. Chase Berry, coming off 2 wins in the Truck Series, is looking to see if he can capitalize on that momentum tonight in 7th. Andrew McGronigal 8th. Chris Pierce 9th. Johnny Rapp, our most recent podcast guest, starting 10th. Brady Powers gaining momentum as well, starting 11th. Austin Greer 12th. Chris Blassie 13th. Lee Campbell last. Green flag is out at the Milwaukee Mile for the Apex Energy Cup Series UD Awards 200. Scott Sobczak leads them down into turn 1, but Rye Jones hanging to that outside. He's going to have to be careful with that throttle getting off the corner. Tony Hilbrun's already almost loses it. Hilbrun's in the 92, hangs onto it off of turn 2. Scott Sobczak and Rye Jones 1st and 2nd, but anyone's guess what's going to happen right behind them is we've got a big pile of cars 3rd through about 10th or 12th, Chris.
Yeah, cold tires. This is the time where that's going to be really, really easy to get that car out of shape. One thing that I noticed is the first few laps at the very beginning of the run, the car is wicked, wicked loose, especially about center of the corner off. As you got Johnny Rapp. Oh, Brady Powers way sideways. He's in the grass.
Wall.
See if he gets it going here.
Is not out, so we are still green. Tough luck for Brady Powers on lap 2 of this race, and that's exactly what you're talking about, Chris.
Yeah, this is the danger time right now. You know, you want to try to make sure you don't make a mistake. You want to try to make sure you keep your car up underneath you, and it is so hard to do. It's hard to do, you know, later laps into the run, but especially here at the very beginning when you're on these new tires, waiting for these air pressures to build up.
Absolutely, and I'm looking at this battle right now going on for 6th, 7th, and 8th between Gann, McGonigal, and Pierce. And Pierce is hounding the back of that number 94 McDonald's car of Andrew McGonigal. We're going to see what he's going to do down into turn 1 here just a minute. He shows his nose like he wants to make that pass, but we know that 94 is a hard car to pass. He doesn't give too much room to Pierce right into 1, but he's going to yield to him on the exit to 2 here. So Chris Pierce makes that pass for 7th place after starting in 9th. Chris Pierce off to a quick start, Chris.
Yeah, and I really like that entry into turn 1 like that. I think that's an entry that a lot of people don't make here because they try to attack the corner in a little bit different way. I like trying to hit the early entry like this. There's a lot of room down there. This track's very deceiving. I like what I'm seeing out of Chris Pierce. I like that line that he's taking down into turn 1 and in turn 3. Let's see as the run goes on right here. Let's see what type of long run pace he has and if he's able to sort of maintain the speed that he has right now.
Yeah, this was something that we were following Chris Pierce with at the Red Bull Ring last week. He was having some issues, really fast in the short runs, but really struggled over those long runs. So we'll be keeping an eye on him tonight. One guy that is struggling on the track right now, Andrew McGonigal, down 2 or 3 positions. I didn't see what happened to him, but I don't know if he got loose. Yeah, maybe got loose, got up into the wall a little bit. A couple guards got by him, and that is in the 10th slot right now. But hey, up front, it's all Scott Sobczak, and I know it's very likely we do or will have some Scott Sobczak fans watching on the Twitch stream tonight. So hey, if you're a Scott Sobczak fan or if you're a fan of anyone else, let us know in the Twitch chat right now if you're watching who you are rooting for. Scott Sobczak leads Rye Jones here on lap 7 at the Milwaukee Mile. Rye Jones, Chris, I think he's getting more and more comfortable with these Gen 4 Cup cars each week that we run them. We've seen him have a little bit better outings most recently at the Red Bull Ring. He had a top 5 finish and showed a lot of speed all night long.
Yeah, and Rye was fast at the Red Bull Ring last week, and he was fast at Watkins Glen in the Truck Series last week. And I was around him a little bit there. He was really fast, and we talked to him afterwards, and he said the only thing he needed to do a little bit better, the one thing that he hadn't really done all that great this season, was qualifying. Well, tonight he brought it in qualifying. He qualified 2nd, and he's got that track position early on. Let's see if he can keep it throughout the race right here as his teammate Randy Bechtel is peeking to the inside right here, but he's going to get in line. It's okay if you give up a spot or 2 this early if you qualify that well. You can afford to do that, but, starting up front, you're not behind the 8 ball from the very beginning, and, we'll see what Rye's got for him tonight.
Yeah, this is a nice little battle we have going on the track right now for 2nd place between Jones and the 7, Randy Bechtel on that Kellogg's 18 car, and then Tony Hilbrens, who we saw start 4th, but had a moment, I think, where we all held our breath on the first lap, where he almost collected several cars after getting loose, and we talked about the danger of those cold tires in these Gen 4 Cup cars. One thing I am noticing about Tony's line just a little bit, Chris, is he's hitting that yellow apron, those I think they're rumble strips in Milwaukee. I'm not seeing every guy do that. Is there an advantage to that in terms of the line and the speed that these drivers are carrying through the center of the corner?
I don't know if there's an advantage. That's the line that I always like to run here, though. I always like to. You guys, people who have different mentalities. Some people like a later apex. As Tony's going to try to make a pass, I think Randy's going to let him go.
Give it to him. Gave it to him.
Yeah, there's a couple of different mentalities here. Some people like a later apex. They like, doing a little bit of a diamond in the corner, like, enter a little bit high, then apex it, a little bit later. I've always been one where, and this is true here and almost any other track, where I've just always liked to wrap the bottom. I've just always liked to keep my left front buried on the line or buried on the curb, whatever it might be. And that's what Tony's doing here. I don't know what the long run pace is going to be because I haven't driven a long run in these cars on this track. But one thing that I see right there that might be a little bit concerning is he's doing a really good job all the way up until about the 3/4 mark of the corner, and it looks like he's sliding the right front a little bit. We'll watch him right here. This looks really good, really good, really good. And about right here, well, he actually did a really good job that time. It didn't slide as much as it did down in 1 and 2 this lap. So, you know, Tony is probably learning as he goes here behind Rye. You know, like, all right, what do I need to do to try to keep this right front underneath me as he's going the shorter distance around the track.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the impact that slightly higher line on the part of the 7 car is going to have as this run goes on, right? We talked about a fuel run being somewhere between 60 and 70 laps tonight, but I can't imagine the tires are going to feel all that good by the end of 60 laps.
Probably not, and, you know, I think right now what you want to do is you want to try to get away without buzzing the right rear as much as you possibly can. You know, if you can do that and you can kind of keep your tires sort of equal, you'll probably be in good shape. I don't think there's any doubt that the front tires are going to wear quicker than the rear tires. But you don't want to find yourself in a position early on here where you've been spinning the tires and buzzing the tires. You're going to lose all forward grip. You're going to lose all forward bite on corner exit if you do that.
Absolutely. And Tony Hilburn's teammate, Patrick Colby, in that 9 car, having a good run, solid run tonight in the top 5, right in 5th place, right in front of Chris Pierce, who we were talking about earlier. Patrick is a guy that we've seen kind of have ups and downs this season. It seems like he has not really been able to gain momentum. We've seen him be the victim of getting involved in maybe some other incidents that were not his causing. But tonight, he's got to be feeling pretty comfortable in that car. You can see him get a little bit loose off the corner there, and Chris Pierce going to be able to take advantage of that as he jumps to the inside. So he looks to make that pass down into turn 1. If you're just joining us, we are on lap 16 at the Milwaukee Mile in the Apex Energy Cup Series. UD Awards 200. Scott Sobczak is your leader. Rye Jones in 2nd place. But don't speak too soon because Tony Hilbrun's is, again, right behind him, running that slightly different line, seeing if he can use that to his advantage to be able to find kind of an opening to get by that 7 car of Rye Jones. One thing I am also noticing is Johnny Rapp is having a quiet race tonight. He has started 10th. He's up to 9th. But we learned a little bit about that Mission Barbecue paint scheme, Chris, in the podcast we had with Johnny this past week, which you can access on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts by just searching Slingshot Sim Racing Podcast. You can also access it on our website, slingshotracing.org. But this Mission Barbecue scheme that's become an iconic one in the Slingshot Racing series, we found out a little bit about this restaurant that Johnny is such a fan of. He loves that a lot of their theme at Mission Barbecue is service, and a lot of their restaurants are decked out with decor honoring first responders, military service members, and he's got a history of first responders in his family. And I think he told us a story about how once a week or once every couple times every week they honor service members, first responders, veterans with a free lunch and also a little recognition ceremony. I thought that was pretty cool, and it was interesting to learn a little bit about Johnny and why he drives that paint scheme week in and week out.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed getting to know Johnny's story a little bit and getting to learn about his sponsor here, Mission Barbecue. It sounded like a great company and worthy of the advertisements here on the racetrack. And one other thing that I love, we were watching Johnny from up above just a second ago, is the fact that he's wearing green gloves tonight. And he was working in there coming off the corners. He was working really, really hard as Andrew McGonigal's going to look to the inside of him right here. But, yeah, loved having Johnny on the podcast, getting to know him a little bit better, and, the background of Mission Barbecue.
Absolutely. And out front, Scott Sobczak's mission tonight is to win the race, and he is off to a great start on accomplishing that mission. I'm looking at best lap times right now, Chris, and Scott's best time is a 30.2, and Rye Jones is back two tenths of a second at 30.4. I think that speaks to a lot of Scott's comfortability of driving these cars on a razor's edge. That makes him fast in qualifying on colder tires. And we're seeing that really work dividends tonight at a track that is very loose in a very loose car. So I'm not necessarily surprised to see that. I am honestly a little surprised to see Rye Jones running second. Not that I expect him to be running much further back, but we haven't really seen him be that. I'm trying to think. I wouldn't say aggressive, but strong, I suppose, early in a race like this. Rye's usually a guy to start near the back and work his way up, but he started in second. He has maintained that position tonight, so great job for Rye running the second place in that 7 car right now.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. And, Tony got a little bit loose. I think he might have actually tagged the wall there off of turn 2. We'll go back and we'll see if we can actually see right here if he tagged the wall. Oh, I think he might have hit it. Yeah, he got in a tank slapper. I think he got in a tank slapper.
Just a little bit. He just connected with the wall and couldn't quite get off of it.
Yeah. You're right. Rye Jones off to a good start. And as our leader, Scott Sobczak, is actually going to get into some lap traffic here. We saw the issue with Brady Powers early in the race. I think Brady's damage on the left front is actually hampering the handling of his car as he's a little bit off the pace right now. Hopefully we get a caution here and he can get some of that damage fixed and get up to speed. But the lap traffic's not over yet. Chris Blassie is just ahead of Sobczak. Chris came in just right before the green flag was... I'm sorry, that's not Chris Blassie. That's Lee Campbell. My apologies. Yeah, he's not in his Sonic car tonight.
I noticed that. But forever he'll be in the Sonic car in our heart.
Yeah.
So Scott Sobczak is the one looking to collect some gold coins tonight. If he can hang on for another 175 laps, he makes that pass on that lap car of Lee Campbell very easily as they are in the front stretch now. Lee having a good, I would say, a solid
Tony.
night.
Tony Hilbrun spun coming onto pit road.
Oh boy.
Oh no, and I think that Tony got a little upset maybe and decided he was done for the night.
Let's see if we can see what happened to Tony.
Yeah, let's see if we can go back. I think he was trying to pit due to the damage here. We'll go back and we'll take a look. I don't think he made any extra contact here. I think that we'll ride on board. This might have been an Alt F4 here. Here we are coming into turn 3, riding on board with Tony.
Yeah, he didn't even wreck. I think he was done. I didn't see any contact. It was a slide. He comes down pit road. Blues Brothers style, just slides it into the pits there.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there because I don't... Look, see if we can look see if I can find his last lap time. Chris, his last lap time before that was a 31.6, where Scott Sobczak's was a 31.5. So I'm really curious about what was going on there with Tony. I don't know if he had some issues he had to take care of or what, but unfortunately not going to be the night that Tony Hilbrun's in that number 92 car had hoped it would be at one of his better racetracks. And that is going to be another contender that Scott Sobczak is not going to have to deal with tonight as we on lap 28 of the Apex Energy Cup Series. Scott Sobczak is your leader. Just trying to get back to my cameras real quick. Rye Jones still in second place. Randy Bechtel in third. Chris Pierce, big mover, is going to be a beneficiary of that Tony Hilbrun's retirement. He's up 5 spots on the night, Chris. Chris Pierce having a really strong run out there. These cars seem to fit with him a little bit better than those ARCA cars. These high horsepower Gen 4 cars. He's shown a lot of speed recently. Patrick Colby in 5th place. Justin Gann, a guy we haven't heard making a lot of noise recently. We know he won our Atlanta race several weeks ago and kind of pulled an upset win on fuel mileage and tires there. But Justin having a solid run in the 6th place position in that kitty cat coin car. You see him wiggle a little bit off the corner there, but Justin having a good run tonight.
Yeah, he didn't. He actually didn't show up to Austria last week. Decided to take the week of the road course off, and so he's back at it this week and seeing if he can make up some ground on the points.
Absolutely. And hey, I do know that Nick DeCesare is watching the race. So shout out to Nick. We see you in the chat. We see what you're doing. We appreciate you very much. So yeah, good run going for Justin Gann, Chase Berry. Again, Chase has had some good runs lately, Chris. He won the All-Star race, won $70, and then came back and followed it up the next week with a thrilling win at Watkins Glen at that road course. Chase is notoriously a good road course racer, and he really capitalized. But he had some strong competition from some folks out there, including Paul Sicchetti, that's back with us running the Truck Series. So we're looking forward to seeing maybe that battle continue on this week at Atlanta tomorrow night at 8:30, same time. But Chase having a good run. He's running where he started, so he hasn't picked up any positions, but that's just kind of what Chase does. This race will probably come to him. I wouldn't be surprised to see if we saw him up in the top 5 before all was said and done tonight. Andrew McGonigal right behind him. Andrew having a good, steady, consistent run tonight after running into just a little bit of issues earlier in the race. Hey, how about Austin Greer? Having a good run in 9th place. Austin has been driving this all-star paint scheme now for a few weeks. I've been meaning to ask him about it, but Austin is from Ohio. His favorite driver is William Byron. So I would imagine Austin's been pretty excited for the way the NASCAR Cup Series has gone this season.
Hey, Ellis,
William Byron having a good run.
I wonder if Austin Greer knows that William Byron got his start on iRacing. I'm willing to bet he does, like everybody else.
All right. But fun fact about William Byron.
Did you know that he got to start on iRacing?
They've never mentioned that. They've never mentioned that in the broadcast before. I see. I appreciate your ability to work that in.
Yeah.
So Austin having a really good run right now. Austin helps us out with our Fantasy League podcast that comes on every Monday night when the guys are available to do it. They do a great job. And if you're in our Fantasy League or you're just doing any NASCAR Fantasy League, him and Patrick Colby do a great job of kind of recapping last week's race as well as kind of maybe handicapping or predicting some good picks for the week ahead for whatever Fantasy League you are playing in. So check that out if you get a chance. You can find it on our Twitch or our YouTube page. Johnny Rapp in 10th, right behind Austin. Chris Blassie in 11th. Lee Campbell in 12th. Brady Powers in 13th. And then Tony Hilbrins is the last car who has just retired. The only car that has retired tonight. Right now, it's all Scott Sobczak, though, Chris, on lap 36 of 200. We are about, probably I would guess, a little over halfway through a fuel run. These guys' tires are probably not feeling too happy right now if what they were saying during practice is to be believed. But the good news is they've got 3 more sets they can put on. Does that change? Let me ask you, does that change your decision making when it comes to if you add an extra stop? Because just quickly doing the math, in theory you could pit on lap 60. You could then pit again. You could really pit probably on lap 65. Then pit on lap 30 and pretty much almost maybe make it to the end on just 2. Does anyone try to divide it up by 4 and maybe make an extra stop but have fresher tires?
I'm sure there's some people that are thinking about adding an extra pit stop in. Maybe, maybe if you're not running quite as well and you don't have as much, to lose. But if I'm Scott Sobczak and I have the speed I have, Rye Jones, Randy Bechtel, I don't think I'm going to do that because I want to save that set of tires for that caution that's, hope that has not been coming in the Apex Energy Cup Series.
No, it has not.
It has not been coming this season, but I want to save it for that. And I want to try to have it there at the end. So, just following by, that math that you mentioned, you have the set of tires that you start on right here. Come on lap about 65, take your second set then. Come on about lap 130, take your third set then. you've got that one set laying in the pits, then you could about make it until the end. It's going to be close, with a little bit of fuel, conservation, you might be able to. But I would consider just holding on to that. I think if I was as fast as those guys are tonight.
Absolutely. But if you're maybe back in the field, you never know.
Yeah,
You
I
never
mean,
know.
this
Someone might
guy
try to
right
mix it up a
here,
little bit.
this guy right here, he likes to try some wacky strategy. Chase Berry in that number 5 car. Chase he's not, off the pace or anything tonight. It's hard to know exactly what Chase has every single week too. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see anybody from about 7th on back possibly try to do a little bit of a wacky strategy tonight. Because all of our races have had very, very green looks to them.
Absolutely. Well, hey, speaking of green flag runs, right now we've got one going. It might be a great opportunity to sneak in a quick word from our partners who make all of this possible. So we'll catch you on the other end of that break here in just about a minute and a half. How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want.
Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.
All right, we are back in the Milwaukee Mile, the Apex Energy Cup Series, UD Awards 200. Scott Sobczak is your leader. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined by Chris Smith in the booth. You can see Scott clearing that lap traffic of Chris Blassie as he comes over on the front straightaway to take lap 49. Rye Jones, the closest car in tow behind Scott Sobczak, is 3.2 seconds back. Chris, this has been all Scott Sobczak tonight, the Scott Sobczak show, so to speak. What makes Scott so good and so fast at a track like this?
One thing that I've seen tonight is I haven't really seen that car get out of shape. And at a track like this, I think that contributes to a lot of things. Number one, you keep that momentum built up. You're not giving away a lot of speed to the people around you. But also, too, anytime that you're jacking on the wheel and, doing a lot of corrections, you're killing the tires. You're really, really hurting the tires. And, you're on a run like this, 50 laps into this race, a quarter distance already complete. Scott is still, maintaining his lead over Rye Jones, and it's even growing at this point. We've got the top 10 lap times last time by. That time by, Randy Bechtel up there is the fastest car on track. Maybe Randy is finally coming on here at this point.
Down pit road. Sorry to interrupt, but our second place car, Rye Jones, deciding to pit on lap 50. Coming for all four tires, I'd imagine he made a clean entry into pit road. He's going to be followed by at least one other car. I'm trying to see. That's Justin Gannon in a 30 Kitty Cat coin car. A couple of our front runners, top 5, deciding to make the call. Lap 50, we said our pit window was 60 to 70, Chris. I'm sensing something might be up here. You think these guys are going for the 3-stop strategy?
They are. Around lap 50, around lap 100, then around lap 150. And this really puts the pressure on Scott. What's he going to do? What are these other guys going to do? I have to tell you, if I'm Scott, we'll see right here what he does. He's staying out. I like it. I want to make them come get me.
Exactly.
I feel like he's doing the right thing here with the speed that he's got tonight. I think that it's a lot of pressure put on you right there when people come to pit road early like that. I think it's a good call also on those guys who came, to try something a little bit different. Rye and Justin, they might be looking at the speed the 81's got, and they're thinking, man, we just got to try something different than what this guy's doing. They've decided to go with the, dividing the race up, try to take one more stop. So what Rye's going to do here, we'll try to watch his speed at the line here. And he is running top 10, so we can go ahead and we can take a look at it here.
He's about a second faster, a little over a second faster.
Yeah, and, Scott ran a really good lap that time for at his point of the run. So Scott is recognizing it. I think that these laps for Scott have to be really clean. He's got to make the most of them. Can't make any really big mistakes here.
And Rye Jones is coming up right on his rear here with fresh tires as well.
Yeah, and Rye Jones, meanwhile, has also got to run. He's got to run hard. He's got to make up ground here. He's got to put some distance between himself and Scott, because when all this shakes out, if it goes green to the end, he's going to be the leader.
Yep.
Or if it goes green, over the course of this run, he's going to be the leader. So I think that at this point, because Scott has gone this many laps here, I think that he has got to stay out and run this thing dry.
Your bed's pretty much made.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's a good call. I think it's a good call. As Johnny Rapp, as another one, made a pit stop right here. Johnny looks like he's going to go the route of his teammate, Rye Jones. Yeah, and
I'll be curious what the 5 of Chase Berry is planning on as I'm looking at him right now to see if he's making any sort of indications that he's going to try this short stop strategy. And it doesn't really look like it as he's on the backstretch right now. Hasn't made that move yet, but we'll be keeping an eye on him. And just looking at those speeds, Chris, last lap, Rye Jones ran a 36. Scott Sobczak ran a 32.1. So we're literally 1.5 seconds gap. That's a lot of fall off in a little over 50 laps. And I do think you're right. Scott's bet is made. He's got to lay in it, and Rye's got to hope that this race goes caution free. I would imagine. One
other guy that we see up here on the speed charts, Andrew McGraw. Oh, here comes Scott. This. I don't know how long they can go on fuel. We have a rough fuel window, about 60 to 70 laps. I don't know. Is this too early? Is Randy Bechtel going to try to do the the running
The
it dry.
long-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this all shakes out now. This might be Scott calling an audible here. Scott might be deciding that, hey, I can't make it to the end on 2 stops. There's no way that I can do it. The numbers don't add up. I'm gonna come in now, get my tires on it, stop giving up time to that 7 car.
And look at the differential now between Rye Jones and Scott Sobczak. We're looking at over 4 seconds now, and that number continues to go up to about 4.5 seconds. That I think is at least about a 9-second swing, Chris, on that pit cycle that Scott gave up to Rye.
Yeah, Rye Jones at the line now, and here's Scott Sobczak coming off turn 4. It's a big gap, but you know we'll watch here from the perspective of Johnny Rapp, who is on lap, tires that are similar to Rye Jones. And look at Sobczak really get up off the corner really well. This is, where Scott's got to try to make up ground on the front end of this run here. He's got to make the most of these tires. And it looks like he's
also got to be careful, too.
Yeah, you don't want to burn them off, especially if this next run is going to be the one where you go, a long distance. And meanwhile, up at the front of this heat, we got Randy Bechtel in the number 18. And I think that Randy and Chris Pierce and Patrick Colby, I think that these guys are gonna run it out. I think that Scott Sobczak wanted to do that. I think he wanted to, but I think he saw the ground that he was giving up to Rye Jones, and I think that he decided that he couldn't give up that ground, and so he decided to come in.
And so that leaves us right now, Randy Bechtel first place, Chris Pierce second place, and Chris, again, having a really good run tonight. Obviously, pit stops have happened, but he's still up 7 positions from his starting position in 9th. Patrick Colby running in 3rd, and then Chase Berry in 4th, and then Rye Jones, our first car to pit, is in the 5th position. Just doing a lap time comparison right now between Rye Jones and his closest competitor right now, Scott Sobczak. That last lap for Rye was a 31.1. That other lap for Scott Sobczak was a 33. So
yeah, he's putting together some good laps. Sobczak is.
Sobczak is realizing that he has dug himself into a slight hole here, and he's got to work on kind of seeing if he can get any of that time back. And I can tell you right now, Scott has gained about 2 seconds of that gap back. So Scott working on gaining back what he lost. And I know he's probably got some fans watching the race right now to shout out to the loyal following of Scott Sobczak, that driver from California. And hey, if you didn't know, he's got a real life race car that looks exactly like that one he is driving on the track right now as he tries to hunt down Rye Jones. And this is not a battle for lead. It is for the 5th position. But what it will eventually be is the lead after the first 4 cars complete their pit stop. We're expecting that anywhere between the next 5 to 10 laps or so. And it's looking like Randy Bechtel, our leader, is coming onto pit road. No, he's not. I thought he was. Sorry.
Yeah,
he looked a little bit slow in that corner.
And with the lap times being what they are here, this is a mile track and it drives like a short track, but the lap times here, these are long laps, over 30 seconds around here for, the type of track that it is. The good news for both Sobczak and Jones is that because they were kind of far out in front of the field, they are on the lead lap. So if a caution does come out, they don't find themselves deep in a hole. Obviously, they're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage here because I think they're going to have to stay out.
Randy Bechtel coming into the pits. Your leader, Randy Bechtel's into the pits. Sorry to interrupt, Chris.
No, you're good. And the 25 of Pierce and the 9 of Colby coming with him.
Chase Berry is going to choose to stay out. He will inherit the lead. He will lead that lap based on my telemetry. But those top 3 cars are in the pits. Right now, Randy Bechtel, Chris Pierce, and Patrick Colby in that 9 car. So we're on lap 66, so this gives us a good idea of probably what we can expect next time. But I would imagine these guys have calculated that they can make it on this what we expect if this race goes green will be a 2-stop strategy, as we can see Randy Bechtel pulling out of the pits.
It's going to be tough
right now.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be really tough.
Yeah, because if they go, what they go about 65 laps on that run, 66. So that puts us at about 100 at about lap 130, 132. If they ran it dry, we don't know if they did run it dry. As Sobzak has gotten around Rye Jones and cleared him. If they have, that puts them at about a 68 lap run roughly at the end of this thing.
Coming in as well.
Yeah, 68, 69 lap run, nice at the end of this thing. So hopefully we'll see. We'll see if they have the fuel to do it.
Absolutely, and this is shaping up to kind of be an interesting strategy race. Something we see often in slingshot racing. This time, this four tire option has kind of added some intrigue and given these drivers a few options as to what they can do with this 200 lap race. We are on lap 68 right now, 69 rather. Nice of 200. You see Chase Berry blending back onto the track, but as Chris mentioned, Scott Sobzak is your leader once again. Rye Jones slides back into the second position after trying some interesting pit calls, coming in being the first car on pit road, getting those fresh tires. But Scott Sobzak was able to claw back and fight back to the lead. Andrew McGonigal, I believe, Chris, has... Just looking at the numbers here. The numbers lying to me. Andrew McGonigal,
he came early. Yeah,
he came early.
We missed him coming.
Third place. Yeah,
we missed him coming to pit road, but he did come early, and that's worked out well for him. I think that Andrew was not happy with his speed early in the race. We saw him slipping back a little bit, so this might wind up working out pretty well for him. He's gained some track position. Currently, he's about 11 seconds behind Rye Jones here in second. And the people around him are. I'm looking at Randy Bechtel and Patrick Colby, Chris Pierce. Those guys are going to be chasing him down, but, this might wind up working out for him. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's an interesting call that like you said, we did miss, but right now he's definitely got some speed. I'm looking at his lap times right now. Last lap time was a 31.7. Rye Jones in front of him was a 31.6. So we talked about Andrew struggling a little bit with speed on the get-go, but has definitely adapted well and is probably getting a little bit more comfortable with that car as this run has gone on. We see Austin Greer getting under him on a little bit fresher tires, that Austin Greer 45 car. Randy Bechtel in 5th place, Patrick Colby in 6th, Chris Pierce in 7th. Looking to make a move on Patrick Colby for the 6th position. That's going to be an interesting battle to follow. I think Pierce is going for the position here, it looks like.
Yeah, Chris Pierce has really good speed tonight, and I think he has really good early on pace speed from what we saw on the initial green flag. We'll see if he's we'll see if he pushes it as hard as he did early. We saw him making up a lot of spots on the green flag, but he had good staying power too. So
he didn't fall off.
He didn't. He had good pace on the long run too. He was kind of maintaining the distance with the people around him. So that's what you want to do. If you can go hard at the beginning, when it's easy to try to make up some spots, or easier, but also be able to maintain on the long run, that's what you want to do. And he's done a nice job of that tonight.
Absolutely. Hey, well, I believe that completes our pit cycle here. I think it might be a good opportunity to take a quick break and hear from our partners at UD Awards. This is the UD Awards 200, and if you didn't know, our championship trophy is produced by UD Awards, and it has been for all 3 seasons we've run. You'll see those right at the beginning of this ad, so take a look at them and get in touch with UD Awards if your league or organization is in need of recognition trophies. How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want.
Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics, from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.
All right, we are back in Milwaukee as we watch Randy Bechtel get by Justin Gann for the third position. We got some racing, good racing going on here in the top five. Randy Bechtel takes the third position, Justin Gann in fourth. Both of those guys got by Andrew McGonigal just a couple laps earlier, as Patrick Colby also looking underneath that 94 car. Chris Pierce is going to try to follow Colby through there. Andrew maybe not doing as well as we thought he was just a few laps ago. Looks like he's still continuing to struggle a little bit with that long run pace. But meanwhile, Scott Sobczak is still your leader. And Chris, we were having a conversation during the break. Let's kind of recap and reflect on that pit strategy that Scott Sobczak had. We saw Rye Jones come in on right around lap 50 of this race to take tires. We said that it was likely he was making this race a three pit stop race, opting that those fresher tires would pay dividends in the long run. Scott held on for a little bit, but about 9 laps later, Scott Sobczak decided to make the move to pit road. And we talked about, what options Scott has. We had maybe tried to calculate whether or not he could make it on fuel, still keeping that two-stop strategy by stopping at lap 59. And the number we came up with, our calculators were on fire by the end of it, but we said if the fuel mileage was correct, we thought 198, right around there, parts would be where that 81 could get to, and that is short of the 200 laps. And right now, man, this has a long green flag run. So talk to the audience a little bit and the drivers watching about maybe where we think Scott might have made the race a little bit more difficult than it had been before that pit stop.
Well, I think that when Rye Jones came and Rye decided that he was going to make an extra pit stop if this thing does go green to the end, I think that he might have just, he went by Sobczak, and Sobczak saw the speed that he had. I think that Scott might have reacted a little bit to that. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, because I just don't know what type of pace, Scott's going to have to maintain in order to make it to the end here. I don't know if he's going to have to save a lot of fuel to make it to the end. One guy, a few guys that I think are in pretty good shape if this thing goes green to the end, and it's got a really green flag look to it at the end of this thing right so far, is Randy Bechtel right now. Randy came 17 laps ago. I think he's probably really close to his number. Patrick Colby as well, and Chris Pierce. Those three guys. Chase Berry's a little bit further back from these guys. Chase Berry went a little bit longer. He went 2 laps longer. He has gotten back on the lead lap through having those new tires. He's also one I think that is probably good to go on just one more stop as well. So I hope that and it might just be Scott's got more information than we do. We know he knows that he better than we do about what type of shape he's in on fuel, and so he might be sitting there and be like, those guys don't know anything. I have all the information I need to have. So all
we can do is speculate.
That's right. One thing I do want to mention, though, while we were in break, we're going to go back here and take a look and see what happened to the driver of the number 52, Johnny Rapp. Johnny might have had a little bit of trouble here on the track. We're going to go back to lap 77 right here and check it out. And Johnny he's several laps down at this point. We'll go back here and we'll see if something happened to him. I don't see anything here happening to Johnny. Everything is green. And he's going to come into the pits. I don't know if something has happened and we didn't see it. If this is a penalty of some kind. I don't, this is a tricky pit road, so this might be a penalty that was served. I don't know.
But he would have, I don't know where that would have come from.
Yeah, I don't either. We can go back a little bit
We
further.
saw Johnny have some trouble on pit road last week at the Red Bull Ring and talked to him a little bit about that in the podcast. And I don't know, maybe Johnny's going with some sort of strategy that is just so big-brained our tiny brains can't comprehend.
Yeah, I don't, he's 9 laps down now, so I think that he's I think he's in trouble now, but
He's thinking big picture, Chris. Come on.
Yeah, he's gonna make up all 10 of these laps here. Yeah, but I think that I don't know what it was. But unfortunately for Johnny, I think he's gonna be out of this thing. But I mean, I'm curious to see how this thing's gonna shake out now with the the pit strategies that we've got going on right now, and we've got a Brady Powers fan in the chat right now, and I think that's actually Brady Powers, the man himself.
It is Brady Powers, the man himself. He's rooting for Chris Pierce and the driver known as Brady Powers tonight. So, hey, Brady, sorry the race did not go as well as you would have liked early on. We do appreciate you tuning in to the broadcast and saying, hey, who do you think is going to win tonight? If you're still watching, let us know who you truly think is going to end up in victory lane at the end of these 200 laps. Right now, it's hard for us to tell based on the pit strategies they've been mentioning. So,
yeah, we got an interesting battle going on right here between 4th and 5th, Patrick Colby and Chris Pierce. And what I've seen, I think that Chris Pierce has been pretty content. Well, as I say that, he looks to the inside. Yeah.
I saw Patrick is wiggling just a little bit, just enough to maybe lose a little bit of momentum. Enough for Chris, who's, you can see, pushed up a little bit there, but Chris having a better run off the corner, center off, it looks like to me.
He's got that bite, and, he's also super conservative on entry right there, giving Patrick plenty of breathing room, also trying to make sure he doesn't heat up that right front tire, doesn't want to build up that pressure on that right front tire too early. We'll watch him right here down into turn 1. I like this entry, and it looks like Patrick Colby is taking it too. I like that shallower entry into turn 1. There's a lot of room to work with. This track is deceptively wide, and you don't have to run it as wide as what it is, and because of the radius and the apex of the corners. And I really like that line into turn 1 that both of these guys are taking. We'll see if Pierce can he's got that egg underneath his foot on the throttle mentality. Got a little loose that time, lost a little bit of ground, but like what I'm seeing out of the 25 of Pierce tonight. Like what I'm seeing out of Patrick Colby too. Patrick's a little bit up the track here.
Just a little bit, yeah.
While these guys are battling, the guy who's on their same strategy is just up ahead, Randy Bechtel. Randy is currently in 3rd, and I feel like Randy is probably sitting in the best spot as far as, fuel goes and track position goes. Obviously, he doesn't have as much fuel as Chase Berry does, but Chase is about 10 seconds behind Randy. So I think that Randy is probably sitting in the best spot of anybody else if this thing goes green to the end.
Absolutely, and just looking at lap times comparatively, Randy Bechtel's last lap was a 31.8. Patrick Colby ran a 32 even, and Chris Pierce ran a 31.9. So as you mentioned, speed-wise, Randy Bechtel just a little bit faster than Chris Pierce, but that is something that Brady Powers mentioned in the chat. He said, don't sleep on that 25 of Chris Pierce. The longer this race goes on, the better shape that 25 looks like he is in. And I tell you what, just maybe a slightly earlier pit stop might catch him right back up to the back of that 18 car. We got a Lee Campbell fan watching right now. Shout out to Maddox19. Thanks for your viewership. We appreciate you. Lee Campbell not having a bad run. He stayed out of trouble tonight, Chris. That 14 car, I find myself saying that about Lee every single week. One thing, that we notice and if you're a sim racer, you might notice this, is if you've run a league, if you get to a track that's really hard, your numbers are going to go down just a little bit. People are going to take weeks off. Maybe they've got a vacation. Maybe they got something else that maybe just slides up slightly higher on the priority list because they look at a track like Milwaukee and say, ooh, that's a tough track. I'm not sure I really want to race there. I don't think I'm going to be very fast. And they take the week off. That is something that Lee Campbell all season long has refused to do. Not the fastest guy on the track, but he shows up each week and he runs complete races, and for the most part he stays out of trouble. And that's how you get better, right?
Yeah, and that's I think that everybody would say that they can always count on him to run clean around them. I don't see him rubbing fenders with too many people, so yeah, and they trust him on the track. So, and that's all that you can ask for out of your competitors. While we were taking a look back through the field, we've been watching this battle right here between Patrick Colby and Chris Pierce, and noticing that 9 car is doing a lot of sliding around right now. It's doing a lot of sliding around on corner exit. I do want to point out that on the rear quarter panels of that car is Dreamland Barbecue. So shout out to Tuscaloosa's Dreamland Barbecue.
Slide, yeah, roll tide.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see right here. I think Chris Pierce. Chris Pierce has been very, very gentlemanly around him, but I think he's about ready to get a move put on him as Randy Bechtel gets further and further away from him.
Yeah. And we'll see if that 9 car closes the door. He doesn't really have the option to. Chris Pierce is going to move into the 4th position. Pierce got a good run going tonight, Chris. He started in 9th place, up 5 spots. We were on lap about to be 100 of 200, about half a lap or so. All of these laps have been run caution-free. And that's something that just each week never ceases to amaze me that these guys are as good as they are. We talk about the number of our drivers in our Cup Series being, a little bit on the lower side. We had 15 guys start tonight, but the quality level, even if they're not hot lapping it around the track like a guy like Scott Sobczak, they're not keeping up with him, but they're keeping it on the track. And if you've been in a hosted lobby on the iRacing service or even and nowadays official races, you don't find that often. And that's something that, despite our numbers not being through the roof, we're proud to say that on average our series is running somewhere around 5 to 6% of the race under caution on average. And that's you don't find many other leagues out there that can say the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, these guys always do a great job, and this is one of those things where it's quality over quantity, and we see a lot of quality racing out of this series every single week, and we got our eyes on Rye Jones right here. I'm thinking that it might be any lap now if Rye does this strategy that I think he's going to do.
At this point, you kind of got to commit to it, though, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, this is now 51 laps on this stint right here. He went 51 laps before. We'll see if Rye Jones comes to pit road this time by, or one of these upcoming laps here. Working his way through 3 and 4 under Lee Campbell. We'll see if he comes. He's not going to come this time, but I'm not sure exactly if he's going to stay committed to the strategy. He might see that it's possibly not going to work out for him, and so he's decided he wants to try to run it dry now. But I think that if that caution doesn't come, I think that Rye might be in a little bit of trouble here, possibly. But if it does, he's going to be in really good shape, maybe.
I was about to say, if a caution comes out, he could be in really good shape. But if you're Scott Sobczak and you see that Rye Jones is pit, you've got the option to get on the same pit strategy. What do you do if you're in that car of the 81?
I think it's hard to react. I think that you've been in control of this race. You've been the fastest car here, qualifying practice.
On pit road, by the way.
Yeah, we've got Justin Gann and Chris Blassie on pit road making pit stops. Justin Gann was, another one of the early pit stops. And we'll go back to the 7 car of Rye Jones here. I'm just really curious to see what the strategy is going to be here and what he decides to do. There's not a lot of laps difference between the 81 and the 7. It's just 7 laps between them that Sobczak has fresher tires. So we'll see if he comes this time. This car's really sliding around a lot right now. It seems like the right rear is really giving up on his car. That's something about having all this extra horsepower here. You can't just mat it like you can the truck. If we were to take the trucks here in the Apex Energy Truck Series, you'd be seeing guys a lot more aggressive on the throttle, and those trucks would be planted on corner exit. They would not be moving around like these things are.
Hey, and if we're looking towards the future, if we're looking towards the final closing laps of this race, a number that might be interesting, Chris. Last lap. You want to know the fastest car on the track?
Who's that?
Chris Pierce in that number 25 car.
Yeah.
2/10 faster than Scott Sabzak, about a tenth and a half faster than Randy Bechtel, and quite a bit faster, over a second, actually 0.4 of a second faster than Rye Jones. So Chris Pierce in that 25 car on a rail tonight, just doing a yeoman's work. Great job. You can see how much he's hugging that corner. Even late in the run, he slides it a little bit off of turn 2 there, but like you said, we haven't seen that 25 car out of shape all night long.
And if you notice, after he got around Patrick Colby, he's gapped Patrick by quite a bit. He's about 4 seconds clear, more than 4 seconds clear of, or almost 4 seconds clear of Patrick. So, I hope that Chris doesn't regret staying behind as long as he did. He was very patient with him. He let Randy get way far out in front. Randy's almost 3 seconds ahead. So I hope that he doesn't regret that, because he's got good pace, good speed tonight.
Yeah, he's got really good speed tonight. We can see right now. Scott Sabzak is the leader on lap 109 Energy Cup Series from Slingshot Racing League. This race, the UD Awards 200 around the Milwaukee Mile. Scott Sabzak is your leader. Rye Jones in second place. Randy Bechtel in third. Chris Pierce, who we were just talking about, in fourth place. Patrick Colby in that 9 car, rounding out your top 5. Chase Berry had a really strong run in 6th. Austin Greer, really good run for Austin, Chris, in the 7th slot. Austin having a really good night, up 5 positions after starting 12th. Looking to see if he can get another top 10 for himself. And on fuel mileage, he's with most of these other guys.
Yeah, this is a great run.
Yeah.
This is a really good run.
He's on the 2-stop strategy based on the numbers I'm seeing, as we see, looking at Randy Bechtel get by him on the track right now.
He is a lap down, but, he's I think this is a really fine race that he's put together tonight. And, like you said, he's sitting really nice on fuel mileage. He went just as long as Chase Berry did earlier. So, good run out of Austin tonight.
Yeah, really good run. Just looking through the rest of the field right here, Chris Blassie. Talk about him having a good, solid night in the top 10. And again, 3 drivers are retired, so you keep things on the track, you keep things clean, and you can walk away with good finishes. Chris proving that tonight. Took a few weeks off, a few weeks back, but he's back. He's in that bright orange car that's pretty easy to spot on the track. Look for that orange car, and you usually find Chris Blassie pretty quickly on the track. So good run for Chris tonight. I'm not able to see the screen right now. I'm not sure where. I thought I had where Chris was from on my stat sheet here, but
he is
we'll
from
find that out.
The Mid-South Club, so that's right in our region.
Yeah, not too far away. And Johnny Rapp rounds out the top 11. Johnny with some pit issues earlier. He's looking like he is 24 laps down right now. But Johnny's still hustling it around the track. That is a not give up attitude that we've come to expect from Johnny, and just a clean racer. We talked about Johnny's numbers in the Truck Series on the podcast this past week, Chris, and remind me of what his incident average is over the course of the truck season.
As Austin Greer gets really loose off of turn 4, man, that's all that horsepower these cars have. But I want to say it's something about 1.6 incidents per race, which is an insane number. That is an incredible number, and that just speaks to how Johnny stays out of trouble. That's why he's the points leader in the Truck Series. He stays out of trouble. He stays out of harm's way. And he mentioned it during the podcast. His focus is really on the Truck Series. How, he's here in the Cup Series every week, and he wants to get better in these cars, and he wants to run well in these cars. But his focus is really on trying to maintain that points lead in the Truck Series and try to bring home that UD Awards championship.
Absolutely, and he is with 3 wins so far this season. He's gonna make a run of that for sure. As we are on lap 116, Rye Jones, your second place car, is into the pits on lap 116. So he's looking, based on our numbers, this is still going to be a 3-stop strategy for that 7 car. So
yeah, he's got to have a caution.
Now all eyes are going to be on the 81 Sobzak to see if he reacts or if he sticks to this strategy.
Yeah, this has got to be, Rye hoping for a caution here, unless the numbers that we have for, fuel mileage are way off. He's got to have a caution in order to stay in this.
And I don't think anyone wants to run. No one wants to run 83 laps on a set of tires around here either. So
no, I mean, that would be, he's probably thinking, if this thing does go green to the end, he's going to do fuel only on that last stop. But boy, oh boy, that's going to be tough.
That is going to be a tough task ahead if that is what comes to fruition for that 7 car of Rye Jones. And that really, Chris, speaks to the speed that 81 of Scott Sobzak has tonight, wheeling it around this track so fast that he's got even the second place car kind of having to ponder varying non-traditional or alternative pit strategies to try to get into victory lane. That's how fast Scott is tonight. So we've got Monkey 81. There they are. Here are the Sobzak fans rolling into the chat right now. Rooting Scott Sobzak on. So
yeah, we also got Apex Energy Drink in the chat right now.
Yeah,
that's talking about the Hellcat on Rye Jones's number 7 Dodge. Looks good, doesn't it?
It looks very good. I don't think it looks as good as the Apex Energy truck paint schemes, but
Yeah, well, you'll see those. We'll see yours tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, in the Apex Energy Truck Series.
8:30 on Wednesday night. We're running Old Atlanta tomorrow, Chris. You want to talk about flip sliding around like they are right now in Milwaukee. It's going to be quite the show tomorrow night. Take what you've seen right now in terms of the cars being out of control. Make them, what would you say, at least probably 30 or 40 miles an hour faster around Atlanta, and triple the amount of cars in the field. And
here comes the 81. It is going to be the show. As Sobzak's coming in. Oh man, I don't think he stretched it as far as he could go. Maybe he did. But this is another 3-stopper. There's 80 laps left.
Yeah, we saw Scott come in on lap 59 last time, and that's right about the same spot right now. So he's sticking to that.
He's sticking to his strategy.
Around 59 or 60, yeah.
So, maybe we spoke too soon. Maybe this has been his strategy all along. Maybe he laid this out at the very beginning of the race, and he decided that this is what he was going to do. Like I said, he has more information than we do. Don't want to second guess him here. I'm a purist in a way. I like to see the fastest car win the race. Scott's been close, this season, so like to see him pull one out here. But he's got some tough competition tonight.
Yeah, he does have some very tough competition in the form of Rye Jones, Randy Bechtel, And Chris Pierce, and maybe not even count out Chase Berry, Patrick Colby out there tonight. I feel like this is, yeah, we've seen Scott have a big gap on the field, but we're seeing some guys that are really fast tonight. And all this is coming right now, Chris, in the absence that is the elephant in the room of Aaron Smith, who we know has been having computer troubles. We mentioned the pre-race show that Aaron is the points leader by 36 points. Undoubtedly, that is going to close up tonight by quite a bit. Aaron, I don't believe, started the race, so he's not going to get any points, I believe, for starting the race. So whoever comes out on top tonight is very well might. My math's not a great, very good. I'm not a math teacher, but very well might take the lead away, depending on the way that the drop weeks and the driver's the worst finish gets dropped. We very well might have a new points leader by the end of the night. That is something that I did not expect when I woke up this morning. We know we wanted people to challenge Aaron Smith for the championship lead, but I didn't expect this morning to wake up and maybe by the end of the night have a different points leader.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it all shakes out. It's hard to say until, the numbers all, the drop week and everything is factored in, like where everybody's going to be at. But yeah, I hate it for Aaron. If he's got computer issues, I hope that he can get those rectified as quickly as possible. Because you don't want to see the championship decided like that. And you remember the race at Daytona earlier this year? Aaron, we got one car. I think we had a car get loose off the corner there. I think that everybody straightened it out. It might have been Johnny Rapp. We'll go back and we'll take a look at Johnny here.
I think it was.
Yeah, Aaron made a lap at Daytona, and that might have saved his season there. Doing that lap. Oh, he did. He got really loose. Oh, and he pounded the wall on the inside. So, not a great night for that number 52 tonight, Johnny Rapp. He's going to have his sights set on tomorrow night, though.
Yeah, he's already probably looking forward to that. Hey, question from Apex Energy Drink in the chat, Chris. You probably have a better answer for this than I do, but wants to know if the cars are leaned. He says they do not look like they are on the chassis, or is that just in the turns?
So this car right here is the old NASCAR Cup Series car. This car was the mid-2000s car. It is called it got nicknamed the Twisted Sister because the bodies themselves are twisted a little bit. You would see them twisted in, depending on the track that they were running at. On some tracks, you'd see them have big, giant flared fenders. We'll see if we can actually find a perspective that might help us. Oh, this would be a really good one right here. We'll follow on board with Chris Pierce right here, looking ahead at Scott Sobczak, and you can see just how crooked it is. The cars look crooked. Look how close the left front is to the line, and look how far away the left rear is. That's how this car looks. It's skewed out. It's yawed out just a little bit, an aeronautical term. It's in yaw all the way around the corners, and that's just trying to make the best speed possible. The drivers who drove these things in real life, just like the drivers who drive them here in iRacing, you got to be on your game. You have to, you got to be able to handle a very difficult driving car. This car could jump out and bite you. And, these guys right here, they're handling it, and they're making the most of their time on the track right now. And yeah, if they do look lean, if they do look like they are skewed a little bit in a way, your eyes are not deceiving you. They are skewed in a manner.
Yeah, you're so good with that technical information. I'm glad I have you to rely on. As we watch this battle for the lead between Bechtel and Sobczak up front, Bechtel's not going to have much really to hold off Sobczak on those fresh tires. But Chris, at this point, I'm looking at Randy's about 3 laps away from when he pitted last time in terms of the fuel window. So I'm thinking that Randy's probably really close to pit stop and now giving up the lead to Scott Sobczak. I just wonder if we might be seeing that sooner rather than later. So we'll be keeping an eye on that 18 car. Gets a little bit loose off the corner. He's not going to pit this time, but we do see Lee Campbell in that 14 car pit.
Yeah, and I'm really watching these laps now. This is what I'm curious about. Is Randy Bechtel, Chris Pierce, Patrick Colby, Chase Berry, are these guys going to go into severe fuel conservation mode? Are they about to go into We'll see if we can ride on board with them after the pit stops right here, because we don't want to miss that, and see if there's any clutching that's going on in the corner. Well, we can do it right now. We got some time. We might not hear anything yet. Might be a little bit too early for that right now. But what I do hear, very easy on the throttle on this number 18 Chevrolet. Very easy on the throttle. Trying to save as much fuel as he can right now. We'll put up the stint numbers here, as Randy has run 66 laps on this stint along with the 25. Here he comes. He's coming this time.
Yeah, that's going to be it.
Chris Pierce going one more lap. Interesting. That could be all the difference.
Yeah, that might speak
knows?
to how comfortable Chris is with those fuel numbers. And I don't know who's a better fuel saver, Chris Pierce or Randy Bechtel, but you see Randy Bechtel on pit road right now, and this is going to be Randy. Unless we have a caution, this will be, I would imagine, Randy's last stop of the night, whereas we're looking at Scott Sobczak, who is going to be your leader, who's going with that 3-stop strategy. He's about 13 laps into this run, but we can expect him to come in probably, let's see, he's running 55 laps, so I would say probably he'll be coming in on a lap around 175 if he chooses to come in. I just can't imagine him really trying to run this out the rest of the way. I don't think there's any way he's able to make it on fuel, but he's going to have that speed at the end of the race, which is definitely going to make it interesting. Those tires, we saw the fall off by the end of a run was over 2 seconds or so. So
Randy making that stop a lap early. We'll see how it all shakes out here, but making the stop earlier, I think he probably feels that if this thing goes green to the end, that Chris Pierce is his toughest competition. We're going to watch the gap right here between the 18 and the 25. Coming one lap early, was Randy able to get out there on his out lap, bust off a fast one, and gain some time? I don't know the exact number, but I wanted to say there was more than 2 seconds, and right now it's about 2.1. So if you're Chris Pierce, I think you got to be pretty happy with this. You have come out at about the same point that you were as far as distance is concerned, and you got one extra lap of fuel in the tank here. So kudos to Chris Pierce. Patrick Colby is also on this strategy. Unfortunately, Patrick's long run pace on that run didn't work out as well as what he wanted. I think he was slip sliding away there a little too long. He's still sitting in a good position here for a good night tonight. Yeah,
and Tommy from Apex Energy is asking, will they change tires? The answer is absolutely yes. Like this track is wearing these tires out like nobody's business. So the only way to even continue to keep speed and not have a flat or not just lose it completely is to take tires. So tires are a hot commodity, so to speak, as we see Chase Berry also making his pit stop from the 6th position right now, rolling off of pit road. This is going to be Chase's final stop of the night in that 5 car. And I'm thinking right now, just looking through our numbers, I think this does it for this pit cycle pretty much, Chris.
It does, and Justin Gann is currently sitting at 35 laps on this stint right here. He's on a little bit different strategy. He looks like he's on the, he's decided that he's splitting this race up 50-50-50. And I would suspect that he's probably going to come to pit road here, probably within the next 10 to 15 laps if he keeps true to that strategy. But he might decide to run this one out. Justin Gann, our 3rd place runner, he might decide to run this one out and, just try to bank on, maybe a caution coming out. But, Johnny Rapp is in trouble again.
Tough night for Johnny Rapp in that 52 car. This might be the straw that broke the camel's back as he kind of lurches it around the corner, nursing it maybe to pit road here. I'd imagine he's getting ready to make this really sharp left-hander. And
you know what he hasn't done yet, though? He hasn't brought out a caution.
He has not brought out a caution.
He's kept it under control.
We are green the entire way. Lap 140 of the Apex Energy Cup Series at the Milwaukee Mile and the UD Awards. 200 right now, Chris, might be a great opportunity to maybe sneak in our last commercial break and hear from Apex Energy. All right, you are looking live at the Milwaukee Mile at your leader, Scott Sobczak and Chris Pierce. And this is not a battle for the lead. Chris Pierce is your fourth place car, a lap down. But the difference in these two cars right now, if you are just joining us, is that Scott Sobczak is on 24 laps on these tires, whereas Chris Pierce is only on lap 10. And we're looking at these guys having two different pit strategies right now. We're looking at Scott Sobczak looking to make potentially one more stop before the end of this race. But Chris Pierce is done for the night on his stops, Chris. And this is something we've been kind of, our history teachers' minds have just not been able to fully do the math. We've done our best to calculate it all night long, but right now we're just trying to figure out still, and I don't think we're going to know till the end of this race what's more valuable. One less stop and one, a good bit of time spent on pit road. We're looking at least 45 seconds on pit road, or fresh tires, which we're looking at around 2.5 seconds a lap towards the end of the run. The difference between a car on fresh tires and a car on a full life cycle of tires. As we watch Chris Pierce make a move by the 30 of Justin Gann, that's going to move Chris Pierce one step further up the leaderboard into third place, Chris. So, I still don't think I'm going to know how this is going to shake out till the end of the race. We talked about these cars that are maybe on the no stops left strategy being in the best situation, and right now that puts the 25 of Chris Pierce, I would say, in the catbird seat.
Yeah. I mean, he is sitting, the farthest forward of the guys who came to pit road on about lap 134. He came off pit road about 2 seconds behind Randy Bechtel, and Randy didn't put up too much of a fight, I don't think, and he has gapped Randy by quite a bit. I feel like this would be the race for the win if it went green, and I just wonder if Randy is in, some serious fuel conservation mode right here.
I think you're right, because I'm looking at the lap times, Chris, and that lap, Chris Pierce ran a 31.1 compared to Randy Bechtel's 31.5, and that lap before that, Randy ran a 31.7. So that's not the speed we've seen from Randy all night long on kind of normal strategy. So I have to imagine Randy is saving, but the difference between these two cars is only one lap. So what has Chris Pierce done over the course of the race that is making him feel so good about that fuel mileage, whereas Randy really seems to be questioning his ability to make it?
Well, it could be a couple things. One, maybe Chris Pierce just doesn't feel like he can save the amount of fuel that he needs to save. We don't know the fuel situation inside that 25 car, but maybe he feels like I just don't have a chance to save that much fuel. You know, he's got, like you said, he's got one extra lap of fuel. That does count. That does make a difference. I don't know how much of a difference that'll make, but it does make a difference. You know, and maybe also, maybe Chris Pierce decided, hey, I'm going to get out front here. I'm going to drive hard at this stage of the run, and then I'm going to save. Then I'm going to conserve. You know, he might also think, hey, if another caution comes, we're all going to pit anyway. You know, like we're all going to come to pit road. We're all going to get fuel. And none of this is going to matter for the in the grand scheme of things. So that might be something that he's thinking about here.
Rye Jones on pit road.
Yeah, this is Rye's strategy all night. This has been him trying to cut this race in this manner here. And let's see, this is going to put him at about 14 laps fresher tires than Chase Berry. Chase Berry just came out in front of Rye Jones. So, hey, Rye Jones could be sitting in a spot here to have a good run. I don't know if it's going to be like a winning strategy tonight.
Podium potentially. It might get him up to top 3.
Yeah, you know, the more I look at this, you know, this is shaking out here. You know, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm really, really intrigued now because Rye Jones is now sitting about, let's see here. He's sitting about, that's a 7, 8, about 11 seconds behind Chris Pierce possibly here. So, yeah, I mean, like, if he feels like he can make up that ground with these fresh tires, he could be sitting there. That's going to be hard to do, though. That's going to be really hard to do with, you know, it's not like Chris Pierce has 30-lap tires. I mean, he's got 19-lap tires here, so I'm intrigued. I'm curious. I will admit that I thought that this was the strategy right here that Bechtel and Pierce were doing, so... yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm interested. Hey, and if you're watching and if you're just guessing, or maybe you have your own insight and knowledge about this, let us know who you think's got the best strategy. You think Scott Sobczak, who is going with that one more stop strategy, getting those fresh tires, which are going to be much faster, or you think it's the guys who are basically done stopping for the night? They're going to be slower. They're going to be on older tires by the end of this run. Which strategy do you think is better? Let us know in the chat right now. But right now, all up at the front, it is Scott Sobczak. He's got about a 25-second lead due to that tire strategy and pit stop strategy on Chris Pierce, the second-place car. Randy Bechtel sitting in third. Rye Jones having a good run tonight in fourth. Chase Berry rounding out your top 5, followed by Patrick Colby. Patrick is a guy that we've seen kind of running, lurking around 4th, 5th, 6th all night. So he's having a good, decent, consistent night. And I did hear a little bit of contact. I don't know. Did you hear any contact on the wall, Chris? Did I imagine that? Maybe.
It could have happened. Sure what that was. Yeah, I just didn't hear it on my camera shot here, but very well could have happened. As that time by Rye Jones about almost 1.2 seconds quicker than Randy Bechtel, about 4 seconds ahead of him. And we know Rye Jones has the fuel to make it to the end now. There's no question about it. So this might work out in his favor. But
this is intriguing for sure.
What might not work out in his favor is if the caution comes out. Because if the caution comes out, you know, Randy Bechtel, Chris Pierce, they've got a set of tires in the pits. If it comes out, you know, before Scott Sobczak makes his pit stop too, obviously he's got a set in the pits. So
if you're Rye Jones, you're hoping this thing goes till the end. Green flag all the way. We mentioned Patrick Colby sitting in 6th. Justin Gann had a good run in 7th. He had worked his way as high as third place early in the race. Austin Greer, man, Chris, we talked about it earlier. Good, solid, consistent run sitting in the 8th place for Austin Greer tonight. Great job on his part. Chris Blassie, Lee Campbell rounding out your top 10. And again, just good, consistent runs, making the car stick to the track, not causing any issues, not getting themselves in trouble. And Johnny Rapp, we know, speaking of trouble, has had a few issues tonight. He's sitting in 11th, and we got 3 cars retired from the race. McGonigal Powers and Tony Hilbrens, who was running the top three before he ran into trouble earlier in the race. And it's been a long race, Chris. It felt like it was hours ago that we were talking about lap 4, 5, 6, but we are on lap 160 right now. The Apex Energy Slingshot Racing Cup Series from Milwaukee. Lots left to be decided here, Chris. 40 laps to go. And man, I'm my mind, I can't say it enough. I'm not sure what strategy is the best. And right now, all we can do is just kind of watch, wait, and see. Because if it's not a caution, it's going to be very intriguing to see where these guys come out at the end of their pit stops.
Yeah.
But
if it goes green to the end, I'm beginning to like more and more what I'm seeing Rye Jones. I just did not think that he could. He's just maximized his lap time tonight, and I think that Randy Bechtel's not even going to put up a fight. Yeah,
not even going to put up a fight. Randy Bechtel lays over his payday racing teammate Rye Jones there, and as we mentioned it, Rye is done pitting for the night. He's on his 10th lap on this set of tires, and Chris Pierce also done for the night, but Chris Pierce on 27-lap-old tires compared to those 10-lap-old. That's going to really be a big differential before this race is over, as they all close up on Scott Sobczak, who is 41 laps, now 42 laps into this run on tires that are degrading at a pretty high rate, and he slides right up in front of the 7. You got to be careful here. If you're Rye Jones, don't make any mistakes. You're sitting in a good situation right now. You don't want to ruin that by getting in the back of that 81 car. And man, that 81 is closing the door every corner, Chris. He is doing what he can. As you can see, he really struggles center.
Oh, he turned him.
Rye Jones turns the 81.
Oh, no.
Is he going to collect Bechtel? He's not, but I would imagine this is going to bring the caution out that Rye Jones did not want to see. It doesn't, because Bechtel gets it going, does a complete, or Sobczak gets it going and does a complete spin without hitting anybody or anything. And wow, that was a moment where this race could have changed complexions completely. And the guy who did not want to caution almost got one there. But Scott Sobczak, still your leader.
Yeah, but he's got damage here, and I hate to say it, but I think that this has kind of done his chances in right here. We'll go back and we'll take a look at it, and we'll see what happened. Looked like he tried to get going and he looped it again, and somehow it didn't draw the caution. I'm not sure how, but we'll ride on board with. I can promise
you the cautions are on.
Oh yeah, no, it's how the sim has been, with throwing these cautions on some of these tracks. We're right on board with Rye Jones here. He gets back in the throttle and he got in the back of him. He tried to get out of it. You could hear him lifting. I don't think it was anything that was done intentionally, obviously.
There's only so much you can do, especially the gap between those two cars in terms of speed. We mentioned Scott Sobczak was on nearing, I think, the 50th lap of the run on those tires. He was getting ready for a pit stop, so that speaks to just kind of how much he was struggling on those tires. And I think Rye just closed up on him quicker and maybe didn't expect him to be as loose as he was. And there just was kind of nowhere to go. So like you mentioned, I don't think that was intentional. But I tell you what it does do is it gives Chris Pierce in that 25 the lead, Chris. And if all goes like Chris Pierce wants it to for these final 35 laps or so, he's going to find himself in victory lane by the end of the night.
Yeah, the only thing is going to be, can Rye Jones chase him down? Can he chase him down and possibly put the pass on him? Right now, it's about a 4-second gap between the 25 of Pierce and the 7 of Jones. We'll take a look at some lap pace right here. We'll put the battle forecast up on these guys right here. We'll see what that's telling us as far as pace is concerned. I think it's going to be hard for Pierce to hold off Jones. I think that Jones has got the tires. He's got the pace here. I will admit, I did not think it would work. The way the race was playing out, I thought that Bechtel and Pierce's strategy was going to be the one that won the night. tonight. But if this thing goes green to the end, I think it's gonna be tough for Chris Pierce. I think his only hope is a caution coming out and bolting on 4 sets of tires, or 4 new tires here in that final set, and it could happen. It could happen.
One thing I think we need to take into account is we know based on those numbers we were looking at between Chris Pierce and Randy Bechtel in terms of fuel mileage, we felt like Chris Pierce felt a lot more comfortable with his ability to make it on fuel, and that might speak a little bit to his ability to save fuel if he's going slower. And he is saving fuel, he's also saving tires. So the question remains, even though Chris is on a slightly older set of tires by about 15 or 16 laps, is he using them more conscientiously than Ry Jones, who is driving lights out here in these final 30 laps or so of the race? Is there any chance Ry Jones gets to the back bumper of Chris Pierce, but has used up his stuff where he might struggle to pass him just a little bit?
I think it's going to be tough for that to occur. I think that Ry's just sitting. I think he's just in a really, really good spot here. That time he was almost a second quicker than Pierce. He's catching him at such a rapid pace that I think that Chris Pierce is now hoping for a caution here at the end of this thing.
Speaking of cautions, a couple viewers want to know why a caution did not come out there, and the answer to that is somewhat simple but somewhat complex. iRacing has a feature where you can set automatic cautions to come on when a incident on the track is detected that would warrant a caution. What we found over the course of this season is that the requirements for a caution to come out automatically are feeling like they've become much more stringent. So if no one's around, if a car gets it back under control and it's out of the racing groove, so to speak, iRacing will not automatically throw a caution. We do have a race controller that in theory has the manual control to throw a caution, but we don't like to put those balls and strikes calls in the hands of a race controller to have to deal with making a judgment call on whether or not a caution is warranted, because it could have an impact on the race for all of our drivers in very different ways, and we don't want one single person to necessarily be responsible for making that choice. Not because we don't trust our race controller, but we don't want them to have to deal with any blowback from drivers who might get the short end of the stick for a caution coming out that might change their plan for the race or change what they had anticipated the outcome being for them. So I was a little surprised we didn't get a caution there, but based on kind of what we've seen, it isn't that surprising.
Yeah, and to answer the question about can you explain why you don't want a caution, it just depends on what your strategy is. If you're Ry Jones here and you don't have any more sets of tires in the pits, you absolutely do not want a caution. You want this thing to go green to the end here. But if you're Chris Pierce and Randy Bechtel running first and third, you want that caution. You need that caution because everybody's going to bunch back up together. You're going to have 4 sets of tires. You're going to have 4 new tires, and you're going to come out and you're going to have a lot more speed than those people who are on those older tires who don't have any more left. So it just depends on who you are, what your strategy's been.
And how many tire sets you have left.
Yeah.
Only having 4 total sets. Some of these guys, like Chris had mentioned, have already used up all of those tires, and they don't have anything left to put on. As we see the battle for the lead here, Ry Jones right in the back bumper of that 25 of Chris Pierce right now. We've seen, while we're talking about that caution, we've seen Ry Jones really tear into the lead, and here you go. The hole is open for that 7 car to go by. Chris Pierce really, almost contact. Chris Pierce hanging on to the outside as Ry Jones slides up a little bit, but the pass for the lead is completed. We talked about what a difficult job it'd be for Chris Pierce to be able to hang on to that lead with, almost 23 lap older tires than Ry, and you just kind of saw the writing on the wall there. So we have about 24 laps left in this race. Ry Jones now commands the lead in first place. And Chris, what we've been talking about, this might be Ry Jones's race to lose at this point unless the caution comes out, which he is certainly hoping it does not.
Yeah, there's a few guys that are hoping for no caution here. Rye Jones. Obviously, if Scott Sobzak wouldn't have got spun out, his night would look very different. But he immediately came to pit road to get four new tires, and he's currently in 7th, 1 lap down. Hate that for him, but this is racing, and sometimes contact occurs. Like I said, I don't think it was anything that was intentional. I just think that he got to the back bumper of Scott a little bit quicker than what he anticipated, and just turned him around. Sometimes accidents happen.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing right now, I'm looking at the lap times for our leaders, and Rye Jones is running about 1/10 faster than Chris Pierce. So the speed that Rye had earlier in that run is definitely slowed down. Caution is out. Caution is out on the track with 22 laps to go, Chris. This changes it completely. I'm not sure who that caution is for. I'm trying to scroll through the field real quick.
I've got a notification of Patrick Colby, possibly. We'll see if anything happened to Patrick here. He's racing really hard with Justin Gann.
Let's see if we can find. Yep. Justin got into the back of the 9 car. Probably something similar to what we saw with Scott Sobzak and Rye Jones.
Oh, yeah. And turned him around, and
almost identical.
Somehow that drew a caution, but the incident with Sobzak did not.
Yeah,
I don't understand
really
it.
Weird.
I don't understand
very strange,
it.
But let me tell you, who's in the worst position right now?
Yeah, this
Rye
guy.
Jones.
Yeah, Rye Jones. Sometimes it just works in your favor, and sometimes it doesn't. And Chris Pierce is coming to pit road here, and
this is the money stop for Chris Pierce and these guys behind him. Man, wow! I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and in everything that happened, Chase Berry got in front of Randy Bechtel. I think that Randy was doing everything he could to save there, and gave up some time there. So I'm going to be curious to see what type of pace everybody has here, fire-off pace people have here, because this is a short stretch, a short run to the end here. Obviously, you're going to have Rye Jones and Justin Gann staying out. They don't have any other choice. They don't have any more tires left. I'm going to be curious to see what type of fire-off pace they have and how quickly they're able to navigate around these guys. Who's going to come out ahead of all the other people with fresh tires at the end of this first lap? That's going to be key.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, a couple questions in the chat right now. Apex Energy's Rank asking, is there a time limit to finish the race? Essentially, not so much. Again, if you're 3 laps down, your race finishes when the leader takes their checkered flag. So if you're 3 laps down, you don't finish those 3 laps you are down. You just finish the race when the leader essentially finishes the race, and you finish the race 3 laps down. And Nick DeCesare asking in the chat, is Scott Sobzak the lucky dog? And he absolutely is, based on the numbers I am seeing. And Scott would have an extra set of tires.
No, I think he has used up.
He used up his final set.
Yeah, he went ahead. Yeah, he went ahead and he pit like right after getting spun out, and so he is done pitting for the night. I mentioned Justin Gann would be restarting second, but obviously here in Slingshot Racing League, if you are the cause of the caution, you do receive an EOL penalty, an end of the line penalty. And so Justin Gann is going to go to the back of the field, and that's going to put Chris Pierce on the front row with Rye Jones. And I'm assuming Rye is going to take the bottom, being this is, Milwaukee. Leader does have lane choice, and he is going to take the bottom here. And I find it interesting right now that Chase Berry is going to be restarting right behind Rye Jones. Those two are in the same voice channel right now. They're in the same chat. And if I'm Rye Jones, or if I'm Chase Berry, I should say, I'm asking Rye to please work with me here and call when the restart is going to be, so that way I can get the best jump I possibly can be, because we feel like the race is going to come down between these guys that are on fresh tires: Pierce, Berry, Bechtel, and Colby. And
Justin Gann did come in that last time, it looks like. Yeah.
He got the penalty. He got the UL for the incident.
That's right. Okay. So right now, racking them back up, we've got Rye Jones choosing the inside line, Chris Pierce second, Barry third, Bechtel fourth, Patrick Colby fifth, and it's anyone's guess. With about 17 laps left, the pace car pulls off. Rye Jones takes the green flag. He gets
Good
a
jump.
nice jump on Chris Pierce, but the 25 gets a huge jump on the 5 of Chase Berry. And we mentioned it is 33 lap old tires on that 7 car versus 3 lap old tires, or really no lap old tires on that car of Chris Pierce. And Chris already looking to make a pass as Rye Jones is going to close the door. That's really going to hurt that 25 car, Chris. Really cuts into his momentum, but I'd imagine he's going to have a strong run off. He is going to do whatever he can to get under the 7, and there's no blocking that at this point. If you are Rye Jones, you pretty much...
Oh no, and he turned him into the wall. We'll have to go back and look at it and see what happened, but
we'll
go back and look.
Good look.
Yeah, we'll go back and we'll take a look at it and see. I want to say that, don't want to speculate right now, but Chris Pierce drove into the corner hard. We'll go back and we'll see if he was up the track a little bit here, and Rye was just expecting him to go down lower, but yeah, we'll go back and we'll take a look at it. It'd be probably best if we could have like an overhead shot, wouldn't it? Let's look at it from the chopper view here. Yeah, I mean,
I think you might be right.
Yeah, he drove in hard. They're a little bit further up the track. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you still don't want to run into each other. You still don't want, especially, if the writing's on the wall, you don't want to run into each other. But I think that I'm going to give Rye the benefit of the doubt here and say that he just anticipated, and he immediately pulled off the track. I think he just anticipated Chris being lower than what he was, and that's where the contact came in at. I'm not trying to excuse it. I don't think that I don't think that was the best move. But
yeah,
I don't think it was anything that was intentionally done. I still don't.
No, if we're looking at it all night, Chris is running a lower line than that.
Yeah,
and I think Rye probably had that in his mind. And again, you're on older tires. I'm not going to make a. It's not about what I would do. That's not about what you would do, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all different drivers. But man, that's going to give an EOL, I'd imagine, Rye Jones. And he does pull off the track with that. Chase Berry assumes the lead. Chase started in 6th place, Chris, and is up 5 spots. Randy Bechtel in 2nd place. Patrick Colby in 3rd. And hey, don't look now, but Scott Sobczak, after having that really tough luck earlier on in the race, getting turned by the 7 of Rye Jones, is going to be in the 4th spot. So we're going to have about a 13 or 12 lap shootout. Nick DeCesare wants a steering wheel shot, Chris.
Oh boy. It's under lock and key for review here.
Reviewed.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hold on to that one. We're gonna hold our cards tight.
Okay, hang on. Okay.
Apex Energy Strength says do it.
There you go. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can.
We're gonna pull up. We're gonna try to pull up something here.
Yeah, we'll see if we can.
A lap before we go green here.
Yeah, we'll see how far back we can go here. See if we can look at a. Yeah, I have to go back really far. I don't have just the tools to just do a lap back here, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to see it.
Update for you on race control. Ruling: hard racing, no penalty.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter because Rye Jones peeled off. I don't know if that is a.
Redacted from Nick DeCesare. Yeah, I think that's a fair call. I really do. I know that I know there might be some drivers who are a little bit hot under the collar, especially with Rye getting into the back of Scott Sobczak
earlier, yeah.
Yeah, and so like when a guy does that, when there's been a couple incidents, it's easy to gang up on him. I don't think either one of them were intentional. I just think that that was just it's close quarters here around the Milwaukee Mile.
When those two cars come in contact, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm Ryan Jones, you lean into it, right? Because if not, you might get shot up into the wall yourself. So I get why he leaned into it and he turned him, but again, I'm not in the race car. Race controller rules, no penalty. As we get ready to go back green, Chase Berry and Randy Bechtel are going to lead him down. Pace car is going to peel off. We are going to have 11 laps to go in the UD Awards 200 from the Apex Energy Cup Series. Chase Berry gets a nice jump. Patrick Colby going to get underneath that 18 car of Randy Bechtel, have that inside line down into one. But Chris, Chase Berry is on a roll. Whether he wins this race or not tonight, he is on a roll in the Slingshot Racing League, winning the All-Star race, the truck race, and he is just 10 laps away from winning his first Apex Energy Cup race of the season and really putting a serious dent into the championship lead of points leader Aaron Smith. Right now it is all Chase Berry, but Patrick Colby is going to see if he has anything to say about this with 10 laps to go. Both of these drivers, Chris, including Randy Bechtel as well, all on 10-lap old tires. So it's looking like it's going to be a battle between these three, but Chase Berry's got about half a second lead right now on second place of Patrick Colby. So what do you make of Chase's chances with just about 9 laps to go here?
Well, Chase has been, just trying to take it easy all night. He obviously went longer than anybody. Oh, as the 9 of Colby gets super loose on corner exit there.
He's been struggling with that all night.
He has been, and, hopefully, right now it's just 9 laps to go, so he doesn't have to pace himself for a long run here. He can go as hard as he needs to go, but, Chase Berry went longer than anybody else on fuel early in the race, and that was a strategy that he stuck with. Of course, the cautions have kind of thrown all that out the window here, but it enabled him to have that extra set of tires in the pits, and he's showing the speed that he's really had all night. Oh, as the 30 and the 45 get together battling for fourth.
We're going to have a caution here, looks like, I would imagine.
They're on pit road. They're on pit road, so I think that we're going to stay green here.
I think we're clear.
Yeah, we'll go back and we'll quickly see if we can see what happened here. It looks like the 45 just gets the 30 a little bit loose, and they come together on corner exit.
And you can see no holds barred. And to answer the question in the chat, yes, these drivers are all out now. They are going as fast as they can. That 5 car in the lead is driving as hard as he has all night long. Chase Berry, the 5 car, with just about 6 laps remaining in this race.
Yeah, I'm going to be really curious right here to watch from Randy Bechtel's perspective right here. We've seen that 9 of Patrick Colby really, really loose. Patrick's been, very aggressive on the throttle compared to his competitors. We're going to see right here. Oh, man, that's good forward bite right there. Patrick really got to turn forward really well there. If he can do that, put a few more laps together just like that, he might be able to hold off Randy here for this second spot.
Yeah, and Patrick's done a really good job tonight. This is the most speed we've seen on him all night. Sure, he's been a little bit loose, but he's put himself in position to maybe walk away with a second place finish here. I just can't imagine that unless we have another caution or Chase Berry slips up, that he doesn't win this race. It is his race to lose at this point with about a second lead with 5 laps remaining from Milwaukee in the Slingshot Racing League's Apex Energy Cup Series. If you're just tuning in, lots of action has happened in the past 20 laps. We had a almost 100% green flag race until 20 laps to go. We saw a caution that changed the complexion of the race, and then we saw a restart with 15 laps to go, in which the second place and first place car came into contact with each other, putting them both out of the race, leaving Chase Berry to slide into the lead. Very slyly, this is what Chase does. He starts in the back, he starts near the back, and he plays it cool the entire race. And here we are right now with about 4 laps remaining. That 5 car, Chase Berry, Florida driver, looking to see if he can claim his 3rd Slingshot Racing League victory in a row. I don't know a guy who's hotter right now, Chris.
Yeah, he's on it. He's on it. He's, after that All-Star win, the Truck Series win at Watkins Glen last week, Chase Berry is on a roll right now, and he's probably feeling pretty unstoppable. And, a lot of people might think, hey, the incidents that occurred in this race right here, they worked out in his favor. That's true, they did. But in racing, that's part of the game. You have to put yourself in position to capitalize on all of the variables. And he's
doesn't always win.
Yeah, and he's done that tonight. He's capitalized on all of the situations around him, and he's just about a lap and a half away from bringing home this checkered flag.
Absolutely, and Patrick Colby still having a good run there. Looks like Randy Bechtel is going to slide right into third and be comfortable there. Scott Sobczak, who we kind of been a up and down Shakespearean tragedy tonight, running in fourth. Chris Pierce still with a top 5 despite that ugly incident with 15 laps to go with second place car of the leader, Rye Jones. You can see Chase Berry working his way down the backstretch. The white flag is out. Chase has won Apex Energy Cup truck races before. He's won the All-Star race, but he's getting ready to take his first win of the Cup Series. Daytona Beach is about 1,200 miles from Milwaukee, but Chase Berry is number 1 tonight. The Florida driver claims his first Apex Energy Cup Series win. Patrick Colby second, Randy Bechtel third. Wow, Chris, that was a wild final 25 laps of this race.
It feels like the real NASCAR Cup Series lately, doesn't it? It really, really tame for most of the race, and then all of a sudden chaos at the end.
These drivers, I think this was the most aggressive driving I've seen out of our Cup Series drivers tonight, these last 25 laps or so. So we're going to take a quick pause here. We're going to get set up and situated here from our top 3. We got some extracurriculars going on off the track.
He hit the wall on the front stretch trying to do his burnout, so hey, that's okay. And while we get our driver situated, those of you who have watched the Apex Energy Cup Series or Truck Series, you've seen this victory celebration out of Chase Berry before. It's iconic. It's very well known. It's his signature celebration in reverse around the track.
And while we're at it, we appreciate all our viewers tonight. We appreciate Apex Energy, our partner, primary partner, tuning in here. This series is made possible by them. You can check out their great line of energy drink products on apexenergydrink.com. You can even use code Slingshot10 if you want to get 10% off of your order. All right, we're getting Discord queued up here. Give me just 1 second, Chris. All right, we're going to pull in Randy Bechtel and hear from our third place finisher. All right, Randy Bechtel, this is Ellis and Chris up in the Slingshot booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Man, we want you to be in victory lane. I'm getting tired of hearing from you in second and third place. We thought you were in great position tonight. To the fuel mileage strategy, we saw the calculators were burning up in the Slingshot booth tonight. We were trying to figure out whose plan we thought was best. Talk to us about the strategy that you found yourself kind of locked into early in the race, and how that kind of put you where you were in those final 10 laps or so.
Well, I originally was going to go 3 stops, split the last 2 up, but realized I was kind of close. So the second run there, I was going about 70% throttle down the straightaway, trying to save a little bit. And, still had to save some more after it pitted. That's how Chris Pierce got by me and Chase got by me. I think I would have been close if I would have had to open it up. Definitely, I'm not a fan of the fuel mileage races. I can do a decent at it.
Well, you did a pretty good job tonight walking away with third place. What about the level of aggression out there we saw in those final 20 laps with kind of multiple incidents? We felt like we saw more aggression out of you guys tonight than we've seen all season. Did it feel that way on the track to you?
Not around me, at least. Not quite sure what happened with, say, Ryan, Scott there, since they were in front of me, or the other wreck, but...
You stayed out of the fray, which is good for you and got you to a third place finish. Hey, you got any shout out before we let you go tonight?
all the payday teammates. Congrats to Chase on getting his first cup win of the season. Of course, you guys for broadcasting, putting on the league, and all the great league sponsors.
Awesome. Hey, well, we appreciate you, Randy. Congrats on a third place finish. You're gonna do some damage to that point lead for Aaron Smith tonight. So we'll see how that shakes out after the race. But congratulations and enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
And thank you guys. Hopefully Eric can show up again next week.
We're hoping so. Hopefully he gets his computer fixed. Yeah, all right. So you heard from Randy Bechtel, and we're about to bring Patrick Colby, our second place finisher, into the booth. And Patrick Colby is now in the booth.
Patrick Colby, driver of the number 9, American Muscle Ford. This is the Slingshot booth. You got a copy, bud?
I got you guys.
Awesome, man. Hey, all night Ellis and I were talking. It seemed like every single time we saw you, we saw that number 9 Ford pitching that rear end out on corner exit. You had that thing sideways. You had that right rear smoking on corner exit. Talk us through your night and how it went, and then all that craziness there in the last 20 laps or so.
It was up and down. I'm not great here. This isn't one of my better tracks. The setup was a lot to handle. It never felt like the right rear was ever planted, so it just spun on exit. But I don't know, managed to drive through it somehow, and something that I was pretty angry about ended up working out in my favor. Got dumped there with 25 to go. Got my set of tires that I had saved, and here I am.
Yeah, we were going to ask you about that. That deal that happened with about 25 to go. Was that just a situation of, tires, difference there, or it wound up probably working out in your favor?
It did. I think at best maybe going to get 5th, depending on who might have run out of gas and who didn't. But I don't know what happened. I just knew kind of coming down to the end of it, I wasn't going to give them the bottom. I was going to make them go around the outside. And I don't know if he didn't anticipate closing speed or didn't care. Or either way, I got drove through and sideways. But
well, hey, man, you recovered nicely. You did a great job all night hanging on to that thing. And brought home a great finish tonight. I think this is your best Cup Series finish, points finish. So congratulations on that. Hey, any shout-outs that you want to give before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, a very special woman in my life. She's always watching and supporting me, and it's nice to have her around.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to hear. So, hey, man, congratulations on a great run tonight. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for everything that you do with the fantasy show as well. So that's Patrick Colby, driver of the number 9, second place finisher tonight. Congratulations, bud.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll move Patrick out back to the waiting room. Give us just a second here. And we are going to bring in Chase Berry, tonight's winner. Chase Berry, this is the Slingshot booth. Ellis and Chris, you got a copy?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got
all right.
The old copy.
Congratulations, my friend. You are $25 the richer tonight. Man, those last 25 laps were not what we expected based on the rest of the race. It was first of all, talk to us a little bit about I'm wondering about the first part of the race and when everyone kind of locked themselves into their fuel strategy. Can you talk a little bit about what was going through your head when you were making those calls to lock yourself into those longer runs versus the shorter runs?
Yeah, for sure, man. I know what I'm talking about. No, I was kind of talking to myself, and okay, I decided. I was like, okay, I know if you break it down to 50, one lap 100, lap 150, it's 50 laps each run. Tire, after the last 20-ish laps of the run, you can make up a lot of ground with old tires, whatever. And I was like, okay, if nobody pits in lap 50, I'm pitting. I'm gonna take my 3 set. I'll pit 50. Boom, boom. Now, granted, it would have messed me up in the end, but at the time, I'll just do my 150, 50, 100, and we'll just hope for the best. And then half the field pitted, and then Randy pitted at lap 60, I think, and then he brought everybody else. Well, dang. So I tried to extend it. I was like, I'm just gonna run it out. Whatever. I got to lose. Extended it. Well, I made I know you can make 64 laps, but I did the math. You were 6 laps short to make it on 2 stops. So I saved a little bit. I got an extra 2 laps out of that, 2.5, 3 laps out of that. The next run I saved a lap and a half, and then by the time the run went on, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna make it. So I was like, I was gonna make it on 2 stops and just made a 2-stop race, and while everybody else tried to make it 3, and just take what I can get, and then all hell broke loose, and I got lucky to the end.
Yeah, I think that was a great way to put it. All hell broke loose those final 20 laps or so. We saw a lot more aggression out of those guys up front tonight that we're really used to seeing. Were you behind any of that? Did you get a good view? Did you feel like there was a lot more aggression tonight?
Um, I don't know. I was kind of by myself the whole time. The only thing I saw was the Chris and Ryan thing. I don't know. On my end, Ryan was coming down and Chris, overdrove the corner a little bit, and they just met in the middle. I don't know if, I don't know, whatever. I mean, obviously, and then I don't know what happened with Scott and Ryan or Patrick and the other guy. I don't know. I just took what I could get. But the only one I saw was the Ryan Scott, but the aggression. Let me go back to the aggression. I don't know. It's all right. I mean, I really didn't race around anybody all night till the end.
Well, you did a good job of racing around folks at the end of the race. You got a good jump on that start, and that kind of solidified it for you. So, great job tonight, man. Go ahead.
I hope Randy's not mad at me. He's like, "Oh, you gonna count it down?" I'm like, I would love to, but I got to go for the money."
All bets are off, right?
Yeah, I've let Aaron get the money once, and I think Patrick, I don't know, finished second twice to the money races. I was like, screw it, I got to go win this one. So, but it is what it is.
You got to look out for number one, man. You got to look out for number one in the end.
I know. I try to be nice. But,
don't feel bad.
I'm not. I don't.
Well, hey, you did a good job out there tonight. Congratulations. We're happy and proud for you. You got any shout-outs?
I like these money races, man. You can keep these up.
Right? You're making a little bit too much money off of us.
I know, right? What was that 115?
Something like that.
So let's see, 70.
No more money races.
95. Like 120. I like this league.
Well,
yeah. But oh yeah, shout out to you guys put it on. Shout out to the old teamers, Randy. I guess Ryan's a team. I don't know. But yeah, good race there, Johnny. Pretty much everybody put it on. Justin for showing up for 2 minutes and telling us good luck. Without him, I don't think I could have done it.
Hey, well, you got good coaches, you got good teammates, and congratulations on that first victory in the Cup Series, man. Keep it up. I'm scared to race you tomorrow night, so we'll.
It'll be just like to this. Lucky. Hope for the best.
Hey, well, you never know. So, congratulations, Chase Berry. Go out and celebrate, and stick around for the drawing and the brief drivers meeting after. We're going to throw you back in the waiting room.
Maybe. I got to pee. I've had to pee since the last caution come out.
You do what you got to do. All right, Chris. So, man, I could not have forecasted the final 25 laps of that race if you paid me to, based on everything we saw earlier in the race. Lots of things happened. We saw a caution bunch those leaders back up. We saw it kind of change pit strategy. We saw 2 leaders take each other out on a restart. Chase Berry assumed the lead and never looked back. Did it deliver everything you thought it would?
This was a marathon. This was 200 laps around, a 1 mile track, and on paper that doesn't sound too bad, but this was felt like an endurance race in a way, and it kind of raced like that too. I kind of likened it to the Cup Series today, like the present day real life Cup Series, where the action was pretty tame for a long time. We had obviously long green flag stretches, and then right there at the end, it felt like the intensity was just really, really ramped up. And these cars around this track are super, super tough. With this flat surface here, trying to get the power down without spinning the tires on corner exit. It provided some excitement. It provided some cool shots. of some guides pitching it sideways on the exit of these corners. And at the end of the day, arguably one of the hottest guys in the Slingshot Racing League, guy with probably the most momentum of anybody else, Chase Berry, brings home another W.
Absolutely. And hey, like we mentioned, I'm afraid to race this guy tomorrow night in the Truck Series, where we're going to be doing a lot more sliding around the old Atlanta Motor Speedway before the repave. That thing's going to chew up tires, maybe worse than Milwaukee did tonight, and we're going to be slip sliding around for a good bit tomorrow night. You can check that race out at 8:30 tomorrow night Eastern Time on our Slingshot Racing Twitch, our Facebook, our YouTube page, and you can find the links to all those on slingshotracing.org. Shout out to our partners Apex Energy. They make great energy products, great flavors. You can check out their website, apexenergydrink.com, Slingshot10 as a code to get 10% off. And Chris, I think that's a great place to end it tonight. We'll look forward to Atlanta tomorrow. And yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all of our viewers, and have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow night.